Welcome, everybody, to the show.
If you should awaken, I will be there when you wake from your lovely
I am Curt Williams Jr., and you can call me Curt, and I am a spiritualist, metaphysician, and hermeticist. Let me explain for those of you who are not familiar with me what all that means. Starting with metaphysician. Metaphysician is simply a person who studies and initiatives in esoteric truths, which basically esoteric meaning things you cannot see, things that are not obvious to the eye. We have to understand. We study, like for instance, I'm gonna give you an example. There's a lot of talk going around about us living in a holographic universe. Well, the metaphysician is going to question that and study that and try to figure out if that's possible or not. And according to this metaphysician, the answer to that question for all you scientists out there and philosophers is yes, this is a holographic universe. However, it is also not a holographic universe. The reason I say that is because in order for it to fit the criteria of a holographic universe, number one, digital, meaning that all things in a holographic universe must carry on the characteristics of a digital system, meaning it has to have a system that is consistent with a computerized system. Computerized meaning that all aspects have to be noted in a certain place at a certain time. The creator of the universe has done that. We have found out that this whole creation is based on a computer system. We have found the codes that are basically run the fabric of the universe. So we know it is a digitized system. Now, as a digitized system, it gives the creator the ability to know where every molecule is at all times. At all times. So from the creator's perspective, it is a hologram. However, from our perspective as human beings, it is not. From our perspective, it's called real life. Everything we see, everything we touch is real to us. Another thing that is not consistent with a holographic universe is a certain element. The carbon, for instance. Carbon is not necessary in a simulation. All you need are photons, light particles. Within our universe, it is carbon-based, which makes it solid. We are created by carbon. Our plants are created by carbon. Photosynthesis causes plants to grow from thin air. Thin air meaning all you need is a little carbon dioxide and a little bit of light rays from the sun. That is photosynthesis. That's what causes the plants to grow. Everything here is based on carbon. In a holographic universe, it is not. So that's what I mean. These are two separate things exactly. For us to exist, it has to be a carbon-based universe, which is not a hologram. It's solid, like tables and walls, and you'll run into something if you don't believe me. Whereas in the other hologram, you won't run into things because it's basically photonics and you can move right through them. So getting past that these are the kind of things that metaphysicians have to ponder and solve, or they will drive themselves crazy. Another thing, if you combine that with the fact that I am a spiritualist, that means that I found out a while ago that, well, I knew I was hearing a voice. I've been hearing a voice ever since I was a child, and I just didn't know what it was. I called it anything but what it was. I called it guardian angel. Sometimes I called it God. However, come to find out, it was me that was talking to myself. Now, why am I talking to myself? Because we're two parts. We're part physical. We call these things in some terms nowadays avatars. Our avatar is physical. Then we have a spiritual side. The spiritual side lives forever, I guarantee you. It's made of energy that cannot be destroyed. It can change, but it won't be destroyed. In the case of a human being, structurally, what that spirit does, it becomes what it is, enters the body of a human being, and then moves either up in spirituality or down. Progresses or degresses, depending upon how it behaved during the time that it exists in this particular plane. Now, as a spiritualist, like I said, my spirit communicates with me. What I'm trying to get people to understand, that if they can connect with their spirit will tell them everything they want to know. They'll tell them everything they need to know specifically. That's just the beginning. In addition to that, it will make possible anything that it wants to make possible for you. It's not going to make you have something that it knows is going to get you in trouble or destroy you, unless that's a lesson that it knows you need to learn. However, what it will do is get you the things that it feels you deserve, really. If you don't deserve certain things, you're not going to get it, because your spirit is here to guide this particular life presence. It already knows what you came here for and what you need to have and what you don't need to have. You don't need to have a lot of things that our bodies and our brains believe we need to have. Now, in addition to all of this, a spiritualist who knows you never die, one thing, my number one wish in my lifetime was that I personally would never be responsible for the death of anyone. I would never want to be responsible for that. That to me is the worst thing that ever could happen to a human being. To me especially. Now, what I mean by that is, I carry a gun to work. However, I don't ever want to use a gun at work against another human being. If I was in a confrontation and I felt that I had to use a gun against somebody, I would not. Simply because I would rather die. I would rather be killed than killed, simply because I don't believe in death. Number one, unless it was an opportunity for me to be a hero. If I was doing something heroic, oh yeah, well, that's something different. Heroism is something that kind of goes along with certain people's nature. But I would not want to be responsible for the death of any human being. That goes on a record called the Akashic Record. Akashic Record is a record of your existence spiritually, not physically. Physically as well, but spiritually, which means all of your existence is kept on record, and at the end of your journey here, your life is going to be evaluated. We're on a chapter of the book called Middle Heaven. And Middle Heaven, I'm going to show you a video about Middle Heaven. Middle Heaven is a wonderful place. Understand that below middle is lower heaven, and then you have atmospheric heaven where all the religions are going to go. It's not that overwhelming a place. It's basically where religions get to be confronted in the way that they really want to. In other words, a lot of religions don't really know what they're asking for when they ask for some of the things like autonomy, for instance, and going to a special place while other people are going to a lesser place. Special place and a lesser place. A spiritualist, from a humanitarian aspect, is not going to be okay with people going to hell. Well, why did they have to go? And that's the metaphysics. What did they do that they have to go? And then you'll discover a lot of religions have conditions, like in order for you to go to heaven, you have to give your soul to Jesus Christ, which has to be maddening if you're a Muslim to hear. If you are a Buddhist or, anything other than a born-again Christian would be offended by the fact that you can sit up here and that a born-again Christian can go against its own principle, which is the one that says, judge not, lest ye be judged, and judge everybody and look them in the face and tell them you're going to hell, especially if you don't have a hell to put them in. So you're going to, if you really love all that dogma and you want to be by yourself like that and only you, well, there's an area of atmospheric heaven where you can go to. And then the Nazis are going to be over here. And then the gangbangers are going to be over here. You could be separate in groups. But I guarantee you, after a while, you're going to be sick of being around yourself. You will be sick of being around yourself. And you're going to want to elevate. You're going to have to stay in that particular place probably until you come back to the real hell, which is this planet itself. Once you get back to this planet here, which is the real hell, where this planet is set up as a challenge for you. Everything is set up as a challenge for you to either conquer or fail. So as you're in lower heaven, you have another chance to come back. And if you want to tell people they're going to hell, well, you'll continue to do that cycle. Now, what you want to do is elevate your spirituality. The only opportunity you have to do so is to do it right now. Let's talk about war. There are no good sides to war. Human beings should not kill human beings. If a human being doesn't understand that, then that means the conscious level of that human being is not high enough to go into the upper realms of heaven. You could never have talked Mother Teresa into going into war and killing somebody. If she had to go, she would say, well, make me a nurse. I'm going to go fix up people. And they'd have to go grab her because she'd be fixing up the enemy because she couldn't help herself. I am incapable of war. Now, I'm not saying I was always like I am. Perhaps when I was younger, I might have been talked into doing something crazy. But after an age of 35, I would not have. You couldn't have. If you say you're going to war and you're going to hand me a weapon and tell me what you are not going to tell me who to kill. I mean, that wasn't a difficult decision. I know it was heroic for Muhammad Ali not to go to Vietnam, but you sure would have had a problem if it was me, because you, as a human being, are not going to tell me to kill. Matter of fact, I think I'd be better off just saying, oh, really? Okay, if you think I must kill, well, then I'm just going to kill you since you run around trying to be, you're the only one that needs to be, and then I'd have to go and repeat the whole process again. But I would shoot the person that was telling me who I had to shoot. So anyway, you're not going to make me kill a human being. We have to understand that you have Israelis, you have Palestinians. It doesn't make any difference if everybody just stops killing people, you would raise your level of spirituality. I say that if you are capable of doing that, your level of spirituality is very low, and you need to work on that. And that's what I'm here for. I'd like to introduce you to chapter number 62, Middle Heaven, and I hope you enjoy it, and we'll be right back.
Chapter 62, Middle Heaven.
The third Saturday could not come soon enough for Jesus. He had become quite fond of Miss Cleo, but saddened to find out that she had been assigned to another location for the remaining classes. Perhaps it may have been the youth of Jesus and his exuberance towards his instructor. As sad as Jesus was, he was also excited to hear that the new instructor was going to be no other than the very famous man they called the Lord of Medicine, Asclepius the Greek. Asclepius arrived in Hermopolis just before classes were to begin. He introduced himself to all who had gathered to meet the man that much praise had been given for his work in the field of mummification. They say he had learned this from none other than Thoth, the man who made a mummy of the first Egyptian pharaoh Osiris, and later was reincarnated into the person of Hermes, the thrice great. This class was conducted by a priest, however, giving Asclepius a chance to settle in. They dove right into the teaching regarding the middle version of heaven, not too surprisingly called Middle Heaven.
A spiritual rating between 50% and 75% is all you need to enter the most wonderful heaven in all of existence. I say that because one really needs to spend at least a few thousand years in this heaven to begin to fully appreciate what life in the upper realms of God is in fact all about. This heaven is not that hard to get into if you consider the fact that one should be above average to enter any heavenly realm at all. Yet God promises this if you are not distracted by those spirits who wish to pull you away from the glory of God. In order to receive a rating of 50%, you must first think of others as equal. You must give more than you take and have less than you probably could, preferring to share when you can, that which you know you can do without.
Jesus had a very strange familiarity with the persona of God. It was as if he not only knew him but was him. Which of course we the readers know why. The priest continued by saying,
Those who are willing to give the clothes off of their back are surely to make it into middle heaven. But how many spirits would really be willing to do so? I certainly would if it didn't mean that I might catch a cold or just happen to be unwilling to part from my favorite shirt. Or, in the case of a woman, be willing to walk around topless for a while. However, if you are able to do so, you are truly a candidate for the most wonderful of heavens above. If you are that person that finds it hard to hold on to things without giving them away, if you find it hard to hold on to money if seeing someone in need, the vast array of spirits that exist in Middle Heaven is in fact extraordinary. There is always something to surprise you and never a dull moment. Humor is a very special part of this heaven, and there are no shortage of celebrity spirits to be entertained by. Talent is a very integral part of the makeup of this heaven because so many of the souls were giving spirits. Middle Heaven is the best heaven to share relationships. Destinations are plentiful, and the universe is full of wonders to behold. A brisk leap from star to star with a loved one that you thought you may have lost forever is but one of the many joys to be had there.
From the time he was a child, the novelist Curt Jr. imagined Middle Heaven to be a place where he would one day see an intergalactic choir. 7,000 members of the greatest singers from all sectors of the universe spread across the heavens. He imagined a drummer that had one arm for each of the many drums on his set, while the guitar player would have a 7-neck instrument, and they had to go with each one of them. There would be one very shy, very special singer leading the choir. He would be very young and have a very large mouth, and a head and body like the cartoon character H.R. Puffenstuff from 1969 TV. Earth, Wind, and Fire, tonight live in Middle Heaven, featuring young H.R. Puppet Stuff. H.R. is standing in for Philip Bailey, who is still on Earth. They would bring tears and cheers to the crowd of millions that had come to see the Puppet Stuff being sing a rousing rendition of the song by Earth, Wind, and Fire, Keep Your Head to the Sky.
At this point Jesus had begun shifting his spirit from Jesus to the all, and he too could see in his mind the singing Puffin Stuff as he jumped for joy hearing of the concert. All of this while the other students just sat there, being entertained by the excited student and teacher. If there was any place where such a thing could really happen, it would be there, in Middle Heaven, as Jesus stood up clapping and shouting, "Bravo, bravo."
Forever and
Whatever that meant.
when you're not there.
Subscribe and push the like button.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Yes, from the time I was about 18 years old, and I had this fantasy, this dream that I was in some part of heaven, and there was an intergalactic choir. And in that choir, you had all kinds of spaceships who had flown up. They were parked in space, like the drive-in theater, except you're parked in your ship, and the stage is floating, and they had a really wonderful band playing, and oh, it used to bring tears to my eyes because I saw this little Puffin Stuff kicked, and he was young and shy. And he didn't really want to sing because he was nervous because it was in front of the whole galaxy and all the people came there. And he was the number one, and he was singing with the intergalactic choir. And the choir got up there, and the Earth, Wind, and Fire started playing ding, 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 ding. Keep your head to the sky, right? And he very shyly started singing it. And by the time he got through singing, that big old giant mouth of his was vibrating, and all the people were going crazy. It was a wonderful experience in Middle Heaven. So I believe I was the right person to write the book that I wrote because it was consistent with some of the dreams and things that I had had. That's what you have to understand, the consistency. You need to understand that your life needs to be consistent with your hopes and your dreams. If they're not, then you will be probably subject to some type of evil other than some type of righteousness. We are righteous people. We are good people. This is the fabric of the universe was created for good people. And we are good people. So the world is getting worse. Doesn't seem like we're going to be able to do much about it. So what we're going to do is delve in more to the things that will help us. The things that I believe will help us is going back to my meditation roots and start teaching people how to run their energy. I was at the lowest point of my life about 6 or 7 years ago, and all I could do was wake up feeling all this negativity that I was going through at the time, and I would just reach over and slide into a chair and start to meditate. Something I hadn't done in 30 years. My meditation roots I had stopped back then because nobody wanted to hear or talk about it. But it was the only thing I could do to get me into a frame of mind for me to survive. I was in just basically it was a situation where I needed to hang on as tightly as I could, hang on to my life, and I was able to meditate my way through it. For a long time, those spirits that used to talk to me, the one used to talk to me, stopped talking to me, and I thought it had forsaken me. But as soon as I became so low into the pattern that I was in, I was able to begin my meditation exercises again, and boom, next thing you know, I started hearing Big Curt again. Big Curt started talking to me again. I said, Big Curt, where have you been? I need you. Big Curt was like, I know you do. That's why I'm here. You know, and you could feel it, you could tell. He was always there, but he was letting me go through some things because I had to go. Before all this happened, I was on a whole different mission, and I needed to be kicked back into the zone that we are in. So it basically took me from going away from my spiritual life's plan to getting back on track. I really believe that this is what I'm here to do. And also, I'm not here to just talk about it. I'm here to teach people how to connect with their spirits. I'm going to start telling you little things you should do. Like I said before, the first thing you need to do is you need to name it. I call mine Big Curt. You need to call yours Big Sally or whatever you want to call it, just so you'll begin to have a personal relationship. That's the first thing you would do with a human being. You want to know their name so you know what to call them. That's the first thing you need to do here. Okay, I love everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And the world is not going to get any better, but it does not mean we as people cannot get better. That's the only thing. We cannot control certain things, but we can certainly control our own spirituality. Thank you for coming. We'll see you on the next show.
Subscribe and push the like button.